I'm glad this is the last of the 16-item agenda. 2179, Senator Paolino endeavored to explain this piece of legislation before us. And we have one witness, Mary Carskadon, PhD, in support. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This bill, as written, would repeal daylight savings time and make standard time within the state permanent. We should end the practice of changing the clocks twice a year to address concerns for public health, safety, and modern energy realities. While daylight savings time was originally designed to save energy during the world wars, modern research suggests the actual savings are negligible, less than 1%, or may even increase energy for use of air conditioning and heating. There's also public health and safety risks to consider. The abrupt loss of 1 hour of sleep in the spring is linked to a measurable spike in heart attacks, up to 10%, and an 8% rise in stroke risk, while the elderly face a 20% higher risk of stroke. Clock shifts cause our internal biological clock to fall out of sync with the solar day, disrupting our circadian rhythm, which can lead to metabolic issues and mood disorders. Younger children often struggle with disrupted sleep schedules that can hinder cognitive development. Fatal traffic accidents increased by about 6% in the days following the springtime change due to driver sleep deprivation. Workplace injuries also increased by nearly 6% on the Monday after we spring forward. Economic productivity is an additional consideration. Decreased focus on the Monday after the spring shift leads to a significant productivity loss, with some economists estimating costs to the economy as high as $1.7 billion. Most experts and over 70% of the people polled agree on ending the switch. There is, however, debating on which time to keep permanently, either standard time or daylight savings time. This legislation proposes keeping permanent standard time, which is the honest, natural clock set to the sun. It aligns better with our body's internal clock, supporting restful, consistent sleep, and brings earlier sunrises and easier wake-ups and safer morning commutes, especially in the winter. Additionally, it does not require a congressional action to take effect. States can opt out of daylight savings time without congressional approval, but only to remain on permanent standard time as currently practiced in Arizona and Hawaii. This bill is contingent upon other New England states adopting substantially the same form and would not take effect on the date agreed upon by all 5 states. I am open to amendments to adapting permanent daylight savings time. And thank you, and I welcome any questions.
Let's proceed with the person and ask questions to open individuals.
Hello, am I on? Okay.
Red button up.
Thank you for proposing this bill and for letting me speak with you all today. My name is Mary Carskadon. I have a PhD in biological and neurological sciences from Stanford University. I'm not a Rhode Island native. I've only lived here since 1985. So keep
You've got a few more years. You'll qualify. No.
Okay. No, Rhode Island is a great place to be, and I know the science, and I've worked with the science around this, and I've only testified one other time here, and that was for the Start School Later proposition, which did not pass in Rhode Island, but which is so important for adolescents. And this ties into that, because if we go permanent daylight saving time, as you can see in this image from the westerly consequences, it would be worse. It would be an hour worse. So it would be this, it would be so dark when the kids are walking, riding, being driven to school, and the school buses are going. I mean, it just would be, and they're getting no morning light, which is what they need, is light in the morning. It's hard enough to get morning light in December and January. I also was pleased to see, and I think it's important to note, that this is a part of a conglomerate of states, local states, going the same way. Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Connecticut. Why those 5 states? Because we're at the higher latitude. And the higher latitude you are, the worse wintertime daylight saving time is. So I and my colleagues and my the interactions I have and the committees I'm on and it's just, it makes biological sense. And the issues that Senator Paolini raised about cognition and safety and health are also incredibly important.
Thank you. Your testimony is well welcomed. Senator Lauria.
Thank you, Chairman. Just so you know, I was one of the people fighting for appropriate school start times, and Barrington did change to 8 a.m.
Yep,
for.
and I was at the
Yeah.
event there.
I'm also a nurse practitioner in primary care, and I signed on to this bill because I just ordered a T-shirt that says that's not very evidence-based of you. So I am aware that I personally would prefer daylight savings time consistently. We know that most of the harm actually comes in changing the clock, but that, yes, our circadian rhythms are more aligned with standard time. So I strongly support the bill, and thank you for being here.
I guess the question becomes is this an individual state issue or is it really a federal issue? I think that's where it comes down to, because if little old Rhode Island said, we want to go on it, and then all our neighboring communities did not, then we'd be like, well, how do we get to Massachusetts on the right time or go to a doctor in Connecticut at the right time? But conversely, when you incorporate all the New England states, now you're talking about those individuals that are close to Massachusetts, to New York, or close to New Jersey, or close to Pennsylvania. How would that be back and forth in terms of those time differentials?
Is this contingent on the other 4 states?
It's only currently contingent on the states in New England.
Right.
Yeah. But we could work to convince the rest of the country to do the same. I'd love to see it pass.
Like I said, I think it would be more prudent if it was at least the eastern-born states, so to speak, because then you're on the same time zone.
Yeah.
Versus hopping over from one time zone to the next in between states that approve it or don't approve it.
That happens when we go from Eastern time to Central time. You walk across the street and you're an hour later or an hour earlier. So that's a great point, but it's something we all need to
All
consider.
right. Senator Raptakis, you have a comment?
I just wanted to, first of all, Senator Paolino, a lot of information. I think if people read through this, I think you made your point. And I think the issue is maybe New England should band together. Now, Nova Scotia, I think, kept the same standard time. They did not change their clocks, if I'm not mistaken. They can do it because they're probably the most eastern province, if I'm looking at my geography. But it did work. I believe that Nova Scotia is they don't change their clocks going forward or going backwards. And the other point, you're right. We have the division between Eastern time and Central time. You have many populated states. And I think the dividing line might be Illinois is Central and Ohio might be Eastern. So again, you're right. You're going to cross over in 15 minutes. You're going to be in another time zone if you're on a highway, either Route 80 going from east to west. But I think you're right. I think Congress should make that decision, or if all 6 New England states can band together and say this is going to be the Atlantic Maritime Zone and let the others keep the Eastern Zone. It'd be something apart. So
Well, it's a little different from that suggestion.
Senator Paolino.
The only thing I would suggest is, it's a good point. I would love to see Congress take action on this instead. Arizona does do it, and I imagine there has to be some people that live on the border there as well who, commute over to New Mexico or other states around the area. So I think it can work the way the bill is designed. Just something to consider.
Yeah, but the only problem there is the argument against Arizona would be it's probably not densely populated towards those border states, whereas in New England states, you're right on top of each other in terms of population. So that would be the big negative, is to try to get Connecticut on board, let's say, because of New York and Times Square and Manhattan. So,
Okay.
all right, let's hold for further study.
Elaine.
We have a motion to that effect. Second, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor. Thank you. Aye.
Thanks again, and thanks for saving your time to come here. I know this was a long